And welcome to Aotearoa Infinite Academy, or we've occasionally been shortening it to AAA just because it can get quite long when using it in a sentence. But we are thrilled to be bringing tuition-free education across all of Aotearoa. We've been running 2 online schools in New Zealand for the last 5 years and have seen what a transformational impact that can have, but no, that hasn't been accessible to everyone. So we've been working with the government for the last couple of years to try and bring this type of model, and we're really excited. This is now coming to life and opening Jan 27th, 2026. And we'll talk you through a little bit more about how the school has been designed. So first up, I'm Penelope. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Crimson Academies, which includes our portfolio of incredible, innovative online and in-person schools. And I'm joined here by Syra, who is our founding principal of Aotearoa Infinite Academy, who brings us over 25 years of educational leadership experience. And she's really excited to walk you through a little bit more about our model and how we've designed it. So a little bit more about our story. We've been running in this online space for a little over 5 years now, and what we've seen is just these trends that continue as we meet more students across New Zealand. The large class sizes in brick and mortar schools, we have 30, 35 and upwards in terms of a classroom, and students feeling like they're getting quite lost and disengaged within that. It can be quite hard to connect with your teacher. They might have gone down the correspondence path, and that relies on quite high motivation self-study that you can really self-pace through the materials, and you might not get a lot of real-time feedback. I've met a lot of families over the last few years who've struggled with a longer commute time, lack of public transport, or they have had as other options as perhaps boarding school, and they really want to keep the whole family together. And then unfortunately, just a rise in students reporting mental health concerns, and then students with individual needs not being able to be met within their school, or maybe not having access to resources there. So what we've been trying to design and working closely on over the last couple of years is this model, which leans into being online first, because there's a huge amount of benefits that come with being an online first school. The first is we can have daily high touch classes. So we'll have classes at an average of 20 students per class. We have live teaching, so we have live lectures, and we have live group classes. So we have that knowledge base, and then we have engaging group discussion. Students all across New Zealand will be able to access this, and we've been able to hire, and Sarah will work through some of the academic team, we're now able to hire some incredibly passionate registered teachers across New Zealand that are subject specialists, and so all of our students across New Zealand will benefit from that. And we've also built out a really robust pastoral care program. And so we have pastoral care deans, we have a special education needs coordinator, and we have a counsellor, and the ability to put in nice support plans. So you can see there on the left, that's us celebrating a milestone of making through our charter application process. And that's really been a rigorous process to show that our academic results and what we can do on the pastoral care side can match, if not exceed, what exists today. So we were slightly exhausted and thrilled to make it through this. What we're looking at is for 200 students for 2026 to join our initial cohort, and that's through years 9 through 12. And we will be expanding that in future years, but just starting with 9 to 12 to start with. And that's 200 students for January. And then because we're a first come, first serve, if someone does not get a place for January, we'll be offering places for the following terms, and we'll be looking to grow the role throughout. Our classes run 5 days per week. There are 4 hours per week per subject. That is all live with a teacher. And on top of that, you also have your form times, your assemblies. We have extracurriculars. So we've really designed this high touch, high connection model with the teacher. And this is also a model in which we're blending together local and international curriculum to really give our Kiwi students greater choice and access to a huge number of pathways wherever they may want to go. And with that, I'll hand over to Sarah.
Thank you. Welcome everyone, and thanks for that comprehensive overview, Penny. I think starting with a little bit about who I am and where I'm from and why I have this belief in education. So, I'm from a small mining village in the northeast of England, which was pretty impoverished in many ways. My dad's from Pakistan, mum's from England, and they divorced when I was 6, and I was raised by a single mum who was actually disabled as well. And one of the things she said to me was that education can help you to achieve whatever you want in the world. If you get a good education, no matter who you are or where you are, you can open doors and go on to do whatever you want to do. And for me, it was about moving away from that area and seeing the world and being able to experience opportunities that I never thought were within my reach. And so, taking my mum's message, I worked very, very hard and achieved in my education, but I also was very aware about the barriers that can exist for young people. Barriers, whether it's to do with prejudice, whether it's to do with socioeconomics, whether it's simply to do with where you live in a beautiful rural community, and you may not have a top quality education, a top quality school in the local area. All of those things create barriers. And for me, being that young girl who came from a place where there were many barriers and lots of hurdles to overcome, as an educator, it's such a privilege for me to be in a position now where I can actually begin to offer an education for any child in New Zealand to access. It's just such a fantastic opportunity that we've been able to partner with government and that we're being funded so many more young people can access what we've got to offer. And we've got a really amazing staff that we started to pull together. So we've got these are just a few of them. We've got a highly experienced leadership team on board, which is phenomenal. And they've all had experience in top quality schools in New Zealand. And some of them have got really good online experience as well. And I think having experience in the on-site schools and in the online schools is really essential for you to be able to see the benefits that online school actually offers. I've had, I suppose, out of my career, the bulk of it has been in on site, and coming into the online space in the last 4 years has really helped me grow in understanding in terms of this offering being something that is critical and something that is needed for our young people globally, but particularly in New Zealand for a wide variety of reasons. I've got three um, children of my own who are now in their 20s, and they all had different experiences of school for different reasons, and they all had their hurdles and their bumps in school and things of challenges they needed to overcome. And now I look at what we're offering in the online space and think, this is it, this is the difference that we can make for young people. In terms of our team, we've got some of the best educators across academic lead and also across pastoral lead. It's really important to us that your children come to us and it's about academic progress, but we also need a foundation of pastoral support to be able to help with that and to help with their well-being. And so we've got a really experienced and vibrant pastoral team who will be made up from deans, special educational needs coordinator, and a school counsellor. And they are planning a beautiful program around Infinite Thrive. So young people learn what it means to thrive and not simply, just stagnate or even languish for some young people. In terms of who the school is for, absolutely any young person in New Zealand from year 9 to 13 who wants or needs something different than what has been done before. When I first moved into the online space, I would drive through where my old on-site school would be and see all these new schools being built. And it just came to me one day that nothing much has changed in the last 150 years other than nice, furry, colourful walls and some fancy furniture. And it really struck me how just simply taking the school online offers something way more vibrant, something different, but something that really suits the young person. Every young child, every person in our school, they feel like they're in the front row. And that's a start. Many young people feel embarrassed speaking up. So thanks for those of you who I targeted tonight and you spoke up nicely. many young people and adults feel awkward about speaking up if they're not sure, if they're not following the pathway in terms of what somebody's teaching them. And in the online space, it's so brilliant because you can be sitting in class and thinking, what is the teacher asking me? I'm stuck. And you can send a quiet little message and the teacher will message you back and you don't miss a beat. You stay up to date, you stay on board with it, and you don't sort of slip behind and worry and get more anxious. So if you're looking for something convenient, just because it's easy and you don't want to have to travel a long way, something that encourages your young person to be independent and more agentic in their learning, online school is definitely something that we've seen does that for young people. It's definitely a different pace of learning. We have no time wasting. We have no nonsense on corridors. You open your laptop, you're in class, you get on with the learning, you close your laptop, you can get on with your homework or go out in the garden and play fetch with your dog for 2 minutes if you want to. Whatever it is that gives you that buzz during the day, you don't have to wait till 3 o'clock when school is finished. We also believe that we offer deeper connections because our connections are more authentic. A lot of parents, when they ring me about the online school, in the past have said the last question they always ask is, what about social connections? And then I did some research recently, and something like even 97% of marriages are actually initially start off online these days. So genuine relationships can be formed and beautiful social connections and social skills can be developed online and then further enhanced in person. And I think the families who have found the online school works best for them are those families and staff who have a change in mindset around social connection. We are social beings. We acknowledge that young people do need social connection and they get some of it at school. I mean, those kids who are in the on-site school, sometimes some of their worst social interactions have been in an on-site school in their whole lives. But some of it could be through their passions or interests. We also ensure that our education that we offer is relevant and it's challenging. We want students to be, supported, but also stretched. And it's in that space in between where we find good relationships are born. So in terms of how it works, just expanding on what Penny spoke about earlier, for every subject, so let's say we're talking about biology, there'll be 4 blocks a week. Each block is 50 minutes and there's always some off-screen time in between each block. And we're looking at perhaps the heads of department so say there's 3 classes of 20 students in year 10, those classes will all come together and you'll experience a live lecture. The live lecture will be introducing you to what you're going to be learning in class that week. So it will introduce the key vocabulary. It will introduce key concepts, ideas, and strategies. So when you then break off into your class of 20 and go to your class biology teacher, you already are front loaded with some of that knowledge and skills, which puts you on the front foot and makes you feel more enthusiastic about wanting to contribute. You're not sitting there thinking, yikes, what are all these words? What's this person talking about? Because you've had that front loading. And with the group classes, they are smaller and there's more interaction. There's more practicing of the new knowledge and skills and demonstrating what it is you've actually learned. And also sometimes failing, because it's okay to fail as long as you get back up and you think, well, hang on, how can I move forward from this? And how can your teacher or other people in the class help you with it? We have something called a structured blueprint, and our blueprint is what's traditionally been called the timetable. So with the blueprint, we've designed it in such a way that it works for our teachers to keep our teachers at optimum performance, if you like, but it also, most importantly, it works beautifully for adolescent brains and adolescent physiology. So Monday to Wednesday, the classes start at 10 o'clock. Now you can see the teenagers going, yay, that's fantastic. So 10 o'clock start because teenage hormones, the sleep hormone is still kicking in and the wake up hormone doesn't kick in till a lot later. And then we've also put a block through the day called growth and connection. And the growth and connection block, Monday to Wednesday, gives our young people an opportunity to self-study, catch up with their friends and study. If they want to shoulder tap a teacher, or a teacher might shoulder tap them and do some sort of one-to-one work, even just for 15 minutes if they're struggling with a particular concept. And it gives them time to actually complete some of the work during the day while they're feeling good. you'll notice that on those 3 days, lessons finish. This is just a sample timetable. Lessons finish at 5:20. I want to just make it really clear because there are 30 blocks in the week, and your young person will have approximately 5 subjects with 4 blocks. There is no way, I would doubt that they'll be studying in class till 5:20 on those 3 days. It might be one day that they're there till 5:20. For some young people, depending on the timetable, it might not be 5:20 at all. So it just depends on how your timetable falls. Then we go to the second part of the week, which is our short days and sort of almost like our soak up time. So the lessons start at 9 o'clock, and on a Friday, it's actually 10 o'clock again because we have a whole school assembly to bring the community together. And I'll talk about assemblies in a minute. And they're finished up Thursday and Friday by 2:30. So it's consolidation and, early finishes, which is fabulous. With the school assemblies, we come together as a whole community, and I absolutely love online assemblies because it's more of a connection. In a traditional school, you've often got the expert or the leader standing at the front talking, just the way I am now, and then half the kids might fall asleep. However, in an online school, it's so much fun because we have a lot of, like, the kids are able to banter and we're able to talk, and then there's lots of things going on in the chat. So it really builds a sense of community, and we also take time to acknowledge our young people for the work that they've been doing and celebrate those small wins around learning. I forgot to mention on a Tuesday and a Wednesday, we also have homeroom time. So every young person will be allocated a homeroom teacher who will be that special go-to person who will understand that young person. They'll know what they're studying. They'll also know if they're not going to classes. They'll also know if they're really challenged with their learning. And when they get to NCA level, they'll sort of be supporting the young person to take responsibility for tracking their NCA credits. Okay, in terms of our program, it's really quite an exciting and unique way of design and delivery for an education. And I just want you to think about, we were talking about this earlier as a group, the purpose of education is not actually to get a piece of paper at the end. The purpose of education is to stimulate your brain, to stimulate your thirst for learning, and to make you want to learn more. If you think way back in the day when you had the philosophers who were teaching and discussing and learning, it was about that thrill and that excitement for learning and growing. And then we've sort of crammed it into a school day, and it's all about the certificate at the end. And actually, I think in some cases we've lost the love of learning, and we've almost assessed it out of our kids. And so what we're doing is, from year 9 to 11, we're following a really rich and robust program, which is the EdExcel iGCSE program. We're not focused on qualifications for that side of the program. It's a really rigorous education, and we know that it will ensure that young people can move into NCA level 2 with a really solid foundation and confidence, most importantly, and a thirst for learning to be able to achieve their NCA assessments at a much better level, basically. What's been happening in New Zealand, to cut a very long and political and dramatic story short, level 1 NCA is quite wobbly, and it's not as rigorous as it should be. And so many good schools are actually leaving it behind and focusing on good quality learning. Some schools have created their own internal certification program to give young people something to work towards. But what we're wanting to do is really encourage critical thinking, debate, interest, the fact that young people can question and wonder why, and go off and challenge one another and challenge their teachers even, so that when they do get to NCA level 2 and 3, they are real learners and they're enjoying what it is they're doing rather than just plowing through it to punch credits. We also understand that not every young learner wants to go off into a university pathway. So we're really excited to be able to offer vocational pathways, such as the Gateway program. So it can be pretty much in any vocational area that your young person wants to go into. Some of the things we've covered in the online school I've been leading recently are things like hospitality, things like animal care, automotive, and we personalize that so that we work with the Gateway providers, but we also work with you. So if you're really interested in, say, hairdressing or automotive, we talk to you about what's available in your community, what's easy for your young person to get to. And then we help with our gateway coordinator to make those links and pathways. And I know I'm here saying it's not all about the credits, but ultimately that's what you want at the end. And with the vocational pathways, our young people can earn credits as well. And sometimes it leads to opportunities to actually take on part-time work. In terms of our curriculum, we're really proud of the way it's being developed and designed. We know that it creates a depth and breadth and most certainly a wide subject coverage. As a new school, and at the moment we don't know how many young people we're going to bring on board, we've got a really solid foundation of subjects. But if we enroll 200 young people and 99% of them want to study a particular subject that we haven't planned for, then we will inevitably look for teachers and design curriculum around that. But as the school grows, we most certainly will broaden our subjects. We are really focused on mastery and self-mastery of knowledge and skills, not just sort of skimming over the top. We want to build critical thinkers, independent learners, and people who feel that they are relevant in the world, that the people who they work with and learn with are relevant in the world, and that their curriculum can be applied to transform themselves and society.
Perfect. And we're on to the last, I think, 2 slides. So this is your call out to start adding questions. We haven't covered it already, then adding questions, and we will hop into those in a second. But the how to enroll. So we will be opening enrollments 10 a.m. on November 12th. That seems like quite an arbitrary time, but we are looking to operate this on a first come, first serve basis. There is no prerequisites and there is no preferential treatment for any student that applies. So if you are in, once enrollment's open, if you're in that first 200, you will be offered a place, assuming that all of your paperwork is complete. So we will share out the link just prior to it going live, so you'll be able to access it. You can complete the enrollment form. It will take about 15 minutes. To complete that will require any medical records if there are specific educational needs, previous school transcript, and that is not a prerequisite. We're not looking to go, can this student come into the school? That is so we as a group can go, how do we best tailor the school to our incoming students? So you'll need proof of address to make sure you're based in New Zealand, because this is a school for Aotearoa. You will have any medical records and a previous school transcript, and then there'll be the usual information about guardian contact details and the like. If all your details come in correctly, then you'd be offered a place. If you are not successful in gaining a place in that first 200, you would be offered a place for the next available open, which at this stage we're planning to have open intakes for each term. So if you should miss out for term 1, then we'd be looking at term 2. As part of making sure that we visit as many people across New Zealand as possible and make this as open, we have these upcoming roadshows, and we will be in person. Syra, myself, and some of the team will be in each of these locations starting tomorrow in Kirikiri. That's where we are right now. And then we're working our way back down the North Island and then through the south. It's quite an incredible road trip we're on, and please come and visit us in any of these locations. Just a great opportunity to meet some of the team, and if there are other specific questions, then you're welcome to bring those along as well. So these are just some of the locations coming up. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so it's not just us talking at you, and I can see we've got things coming in the chat, so we can start with the questions. Okay. How flexible is the timetable to work around students who need flexibility for other activities, sports training? Can some subjects be caught up on? Are lessons recorded? Do you want to take this one?
Yes. Yes, we are going to record lessons. And I think what we're doing at this stage is saying it's things like this is a case by case by case. So if you have particular commitments and you feel that those commitments most certainly contribute to your young person's education and you want to talk to us about that, we're very open to do that. It's hard to sort of just say as a blanket, oh yeah, we're flexible and they can miss a day, because at the end of the day, we're a government funded school and we expect that our young people are full-time enrolled with us, partaking in programs, but it depends on your young person's age and their commitment in education, their commitments outside of education. So I would say submit your application. If you've got any queries, pop it on there if you want, but also that's the kind of thing we can talk about, and particularly like with your deans and potential homeroom tutor.
What are the reasons for switching from Cambridge in early years to NCA? Great, I can take this one. So there are a few reasons behind this. So we have Pearson EdXL, Pearson EdXL and Cambridge being sort of equivalent, just different examining bodies, and then you'd progress through to the A level. Because we are looking for students to be able to transfer in from any New Zealand school at any time, we decided not to progress with the A levels because that would essentially block students in year 12 and year 13 from being able to transfer into our school because they wouldn't be able to join due to prerequisites. So one, we wanted to make it open. Two, as you get into AS and A2, it becomes very weighted towards the examination side, and that's not necessarily the best fit for all students. So again, we wanted to go with what would be the most accessible option. And then the other piece there is just the sheer cost of exam fees. So in any given year, sort of for AS and A2, you could be looking at somewhere between $2,000 to $5,000 a year in exam fees. And so we've opted not to do that and shift for NCEA instead.
So the next one down is, will the students be entered for IGCSE in any subject? So they will most certainly complete the programs in IGCSE, but as Penny's just said, we won't be entering them in for the exams at year 11 because we want to focus on good, solid knowledge building as a springboard into NCA level 2.
Yeah, so we won't be entering students into the IGCSE exams by default. If a student wishes to take the exams, then they can discuss that with their dean and we can look at how we facilitate that. But the focus is on the content, not on the qualification, because the students in our school will not be progressing through to AS or A2.
Renee, your question about your daughter going into NCA level 2, most certainly not be a challenge. This can be a very easy transfer over. For the school I've been leading for the last 4 years, which is online, we have young people coming in year 11, year 12, year 13 and just pick up. So it would be a conversation around what she studied already and whether she wants to continue with those subjects or perhaps even start some new subjects. But we'd be looking at what her foundation knowledge is. Like, for example, if she was coming into level 2 and wanted to do psychology, but she'd never done psychology at year 11 or any other subject, at a younger level, she would be able to do that because we very much start from scratch in that subject. So it depends on the subject options, but definitely a transfer over in level 2 would be fine.
Oh, because she's left school. She's got to leave it. So she wants to get NCA level 2, but school wasn't working for her. So we are at a bridge of looking at Tukura, and then I saw you guys advertised as well. So
she could definitely come, and if she's been at studying level 2 already, she might have some credits. We could pick those up and then design a course to get her through to the final certificate stage. Exactly the same as my youngest, Renee. She left before the end of level 2, went off and got a job for 6 months, and then was like, I want to finish, and came back to the online school and did it beautifully. List of subjects, we are going to attach our really comprehensive prospectus to the website, so all the available subjects are in there. But like I said, if we get 200 young people enrolling and 99% of them want to do French, for example, and French is not there, we'll be looking at how we can meet their needs.
There's also other opportunities to meet up with other students locally. So yes, we will look at how we can facilitate this. Because this is open across New Zealand, we don't yet have an idea of, is it 50 in Christchurch, 50 elsewhere. What we've seen now, the schools, is we will go out and we'll work with the faculty and parents that are located and then look at how we facilitate in-person get-togethers.
And in terms of learning materials and accessibility, that will be subject by subject. So for example, if your young person decides they want to do photography at NCA level 2, then as in with any regular school, they would probably be expected to provide their own camera. If it's something that we want all the students to do, for example, a particular experiment in chemistry, then we would potentially be sending out kits to young people. But again, it will depend on the subject, but like with any college, there will be some cost to the family around, like you might need to buy a workbook or textbooks or whatever. But we will endeavour to, if we can get hold of digital copies of those things and provide them online, then we'll be doing that.
There's a question on IGCSE exams being fully funded. Do you have a choice of the exam board? So we are not entering students into the exam. We're covering the content, but not entering students to sit within the exam. So the exam fees are not funded, but that would be a choice if someone wished to do the exam. I would say that we will be doing internal exams throughout the year, and you would be able to use that on your record if you wish to then transfer into a school that was doing AS or A2.
With STAR courses, that's a little bit like the gateway courses. So we'd be looking at, what gateway courses, if there was a particular STAR course that your young person was interested in, we'd be looking at whether we could provide that through gateway, which is definitely funded. So that would be something to talk about for sure. And you could most certainly enroll a young person who is on a homeschool exemption. We welcome and would love to support families who've been homeschooling, because I know how challenging that can be. I've had some really good conversations with Cynthia Hancock, who I know supports the homeschooling community, and she is thrilled with what we're offering and believes this could be an amazing support for families who need that support. Not all homeschool families want or need it, but we most certainly enroll homeschooled kids.
One point on that, though, you would be switching over to be enrolled in our school, so you would no longer need a homeschooling exemption, because you would be full-time enrolled within our school. Currently homeschooling, planning on taking IGCSEs next year. Yes, so they would be able to enroll with us to cover all of the content. They would need to be a full-time enrolled student, which covers some of this. I think the second question, do you accommodate in dual enrollment with Northern Health School? We would love to facilitate dual enrollment, because we are early days and we're the first ever in this online charter space. We're still working with the government on the logistics and how we operate a dual enrollment. We expect we'll be able to support dual enrollments from 2027. But unlikely for 2026. It'd be full-time enrollments only for that first cohort.
And Bridget, you're right, as Penny just said, if they're currently being educated under a homeschool exemption, if they enroll with us, then their class has been enrolled in a regular school, so the exemption wouldn't count anymore.
Yeah, we take care of all of the attendance requirements and everything, and work directly with the Ministry of Education.
And great question, and it's a question that we've seen coming up quite a lot in our leads inquiries. We will most certainly be able to support neurodivergent students. To be fair, in my experience, even a young person who is neurodivergent coming into the online space has so many barriers removed by simply being at home and not being in a busy, noisy classroom full of interruptions and sort of, where to go and rules and systems and structures. Just the calmness of being at home is really a massive sort of support in itself. We also have a SENCO. So if you are applying and your young person is neurodivergent and you've got any sort of diagnosis, please attach those reports, because our SENCO is very, very experienced and also has psychologist experience as well and qualifications, and he will be working with the families of students with ADHD, dyslexia, dysgraphia, neurodivergent needs, and he will be looking at what your goals are, supporting you with individual education plans, and supporting teachers in classrooms to be able to help meet those goals.
It's another question on dual enrollment. Unfortunately, not in the short term, but as soon as we iron out the logistics with government, we will come back out with more information on that. Yes, we will send out a list of documents for enrollment. Students, absolutely. Bring them along.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, parents, we love you dearly, but seeing your kids is way more exciting and hearing what they want. And, you know, we also encourage you as a family, and particularly your kids, to be really honest about what hasn't worked for them previously. You know, it's there are more and more young people, 80,000 young people who are not attending school regularly. We've got a problem globally, but we've got a problem in New Zealand. And we really do believe that this offering, from our experience in the online space, can provide great education for young people in a way that meets their needs. And one thing I always say to parents who are enrolling, you are the first educators and continuing educators of your young people. It's really important that you advocate for them. If there's something they're not happy with, I encourage you to be that parent. I've been that parent in so many schools for all three of my kids. I love that parent. I'm sure my face was on a dartboard on many DP's walls at some point, but like for me, we are serving you and we are serving your young people. How can we serve you if we don't listen to you? And we might not always be able to do exactly what you want or need, but we will endeavor to try. And how do we know if you don't talk to us? I seriously believe that online schools provide an amazing opportunity for genuine and authentic partnership with parents. And that's what it's all about. Because if we can partner with you authentically, we can meet the needs of your young people really well.
There's a question around sports clubs and teams. Yes, so as a registered school, we will be able to sort of file that. I know in terms of being able to file for an equestrian team, for instance, that's not a guarantee that we're suddenly going to start enrolling sports teams all across, because we may not have the students that wish to do that. But if we have a student particularly in more individual or small team sports, we'll either look at how we can create a team, or if it's just us entering them, like perhaps it's mountain biking or equestrian, then absolutely we can do that. If first come first served, is there a set number of places at each year level? Yes, so it is approximately 50 per year level. Unfortunately, no to dual enrollments to start.
Sorry, Penny, can I just, and the reason we're doing that is because obviously we have vision for growth, and it's important, like, you know, if the first 200 are in year 12, it would be the school can't grow. So we need to ensure an even spread. However, looking at the policy, the first instance will be first come first served across those year levels. If we've got a number of places left and we've got people waiting, then we could stack the year levels slightly differently, but that's in the first instance.
And on this dual enrollment, we are really excited as we think longer term about how we create more hybrid learning experiences, how we partner with schools in region to create more of that dual enrollment. It's just unfortunately not something that's been designed for yet in the current logistics, but
we've got ideas around it. We've been talking about ideas, and we've been talking about connections and partnerships because why wouldn't you dual enroll? I mean, I left England 20 years ago, and just before I left, I went on some professional development, and the guy who was leading the professional development, interestingly enough, had just been in New Zealand, and he was talking about, you know, school, like networks of schools, and it's just the way funding streams work at the moment. But if anyone can make a change in legislation, you know, you're looking at it here. And so we've got a lot of ideas around dual enrollment and partnership enrollment, and so I would say that would be coming next. It's just we have to work within our funding stream constraints at the moment.
How are science lessons carried out?
So your science lessons would be, obviously you'd have theory. We have very creative teachers and leaders in the science area who've been liaising with our content curriculum developers, and we are going to be looking at how we can still do experiments. We might not have Bunsen burners in your kitchens, but we will be looking at how we can do scientific experiments. And, you know, just talking to our deputy principal, who's on my screen, she's to my right, but I don't know where she is on your screen. That is Sian Durbin. She is a scientist and she's our DP, and she was telling me about how the biology curriculum is changing as such, so that it's not like the traditional experiments that we knew when, well, I'm a bit older than you guys, but you know, like that was the traditional experiments of the past. But your young people will most certainly have a varied course, which will have practical and theoretical elements. And I was just talking to someone who is potentially interested in our technology position, and we were looking at that as well. How do we provide opportunities for kids to be practical as well as theoretical? So these things are being designed and thought about.
Yeah. In our other schools, we have a mixture of, you might use interactive kits, you have home kitchen science, and then we look at how we facilitate experiences.
Yes to OARS funding, Naomi. We most certainly could enroll an OARS funded student. That's not a problem. And we have resources to be able to support as well.
That would also just, on that, please put it in the enrolment form again, just so our SENCO can understand exactly what additional supports we need to put in place. Yes, you could enter into the IGC exams. If a student really wanted to take the exams, that's also something I would encourage, that they have that conversation with their dean, because that would be part of their longer term academic and career planning. And does that exam make sense for them to do now? What are they planning to transition to for their curriculum? And if it really makes sense for them to take that, okay, are there options of how we can facilitate that? So it won't be the default, but if that really aligns in with their academic planning, then as a school, we'll be looking at how we can support. Oh, Anne, current CGA family. So there's a few different differences. So in CGA, we run a four-day academic week. This is a 5-day academic week. There's some differences in terms of class sizes, global community, extracurriculars, and the like. There will be a version of learning snapshots, but it won't be quite as comprehensive. But because we'll be looking at sort of a different take on that, but we will have summary notes and we'll be surfacing them up for parents as well. But the technology platforms are different. Is there a cost per year? No, the cost is $0. Tuition free, no cost. It is incredible to be able to say that. I love it. Been doing codes. Oh, that's a question on subjects, level 3 subjects.
I've seen info that initial enrolments are up to year 12. Yes, my son will be in year 12 in 2026, but has been doing calc and stats. Yes, we could look at that. So most certainly, put your application in and mark that. If you wanted to send me an email, you're very welcome. It's s.boyle@aotearoa.infiniteacademy.school. And I can talk to our curriculum design team as well as the head of department in maths. But I would say that is something we could look at for sure.
Physics, IGCSE.
They will be studying physics for sure, but as we've talked about comprehensively this evening, we're not entering them into exams, but we could work with you if you wanted to enter them into that exam.
Natalie and Shane, love this question. Already getting ready for enrollment. A school report is fine. Just something we want to see what subjects they've done, if there are any teacher commentary, if there are any grades associated with it. Again, so I get an idea of the students that are coming into the school, because all 200 are going to be joining at the same time. And so the more information and context we have, the better.
Just on that note as well, I want you all to understand that this is a brand new school with a brand new way of doing things. And we, if there's anything that you're thinking, oh gosh, are they going to look at that school report and think, I'm not going to, that my kiddie was maybe naughty, or there's something on the school report that you think, oh, I wish that wasn't on there. We don't care. Yep. We're very, very young people are young people, and my school report wasn't always the best. As you can probably tell, I talked way too much. I think Penny was talking about her schooling earlier, and there were some little bumps there as well. Yeah. So we are not here to judge. We are here to support young people to receive an education. Yes, love hearts too. Yeah. I mean, we want to give all kids an opportunity. So don't worry what your school reports say. Just chuck them in. We don't worry. We just use it to help us.
Yeah. And there's no preference. There's no grade requirements. There's no prerequisites. It really is just an understanding. If you're temporarily in a different country, so this would depend on how long you are out of the country. Because we are a charter government funded school, there is a requirement that students are attending school full time, and attendance being that they are live and in class. So if this was a short term, you were out of the country for a week, then you'd work with your dean and we would look at it on a case by case basis.
Okay, 2 great questions, one from Sarah and one from Anne. Sarah, yes, we do. We've got school dates. They're up on the term dates. They're up on the website. I think there might be a couple of teacher only days as well. I don't know if they've been put up there, but we'll get those up there as well. So pretty much the same. Anne, will NCA exams be online? So the internals will be online, and they will be under specific conditions that we will work with NCA to get consent to assess in the way we have in our previous online schools. They're run very tightly. With the externals, at the moment, young people go into a host school. So if whatever your local school is, you would nominate. We have somebody who works, the principal's nominee will work closely with our families. You'll all nominate a school. We'll enter your young person administratively with NZQA for that school. You then receive an examinations admission slip with the school name on. Quite often those schools have practice days where the external students, because there's quite a lot of host school kiddies for different reasons, they will have a practice day for the kids who aren't usually at their school to go in, to have a feel for the environment, to see if their laptops hook up to their internet and all those kinds of things. But we step you through that at the time.
Is it possible for students to enroll only in specific subjects and not the full curriculum? Unfortunately not. It is only full curriculum at the moment, and that is just a constraint of how the funding model works and that it follows the student in its entirety. That's what I mentioned earlier, and we're working out some of the logistics on dual enrollment. So it would need to be full enrollment. Online content. We have an incredible content curriculum development and content writing team who are building out all of our curriculum. So it will all be completely up to date and ready for January. So you won't be running into an issue of subjects not being available due to a rewrite.
Napier. Are we going to Napier?
We are going to Napier. Let me find the location and put it in. We've been adding in locations as interest comes in, and so quite last minute on adding venues, but I will grab that for you.
Okay, I'll just talk to the differences while you do that, Penny, on Te Kura and Aotearoa Infinite Academy. I'll obviously sell up Aotearoa Infinite Academy, but our school is a community. It is a school community. It's a learning organisation where you have teachers with classes who work with your young people and support them in a group. So it's synchronous classes. They have a timetable. We have community connections through assemblies, homeroom, deans. We have a front-loaded model where they are given the information up front and then they grapple with that information with their teachers. It's a really beautiful school experience without buildings. I've heard things from Te Kura which tell me it's not that necessarily, and we are focused on creating a sense of connection and creating a sense of belonging. If you ever hear it called distance schooling, please correct people, because I think it's about being connected in different ways, and that's what we offer. So you will know what you've heard about Te Kura, but what we're offering is a full school experience where they're in classes, there's accountability, we have lots of laughter, lots of fun together, and there are challenges and they're supported through their challenges. We look at potentially supporting people to meet up in local communities and start sort of building friendships. We'll also be looking long term at how we can potentially offer things like camps and get-togethers in a way that's inclusive. We don't want to offer that at this stage, just in case there are some students who are unable, for whatever their circumstances are, to join us. So we'll be looking at how we build an inclusive way to connect. I also think that the way we approach the curriculum foundation at years 9, 10 and 11 is really high quality and prepares our young people for NCEA. I think being able to work online with other young people, talk to other young people, work in breakout rooms, have that support network is a huge benefit, which we offer at Aotearoa Infinite Academy too.
I've just added the Napier location in there and also included a copy of the prospectus, which has which might answer some of the other questions, or maybe it's going to spur more. So thank you everyone for working through all these. I love these questions and genuinely how engaged everyone is with education and this model. It's actually incredible. So will this meeting be recorded? Yes, you'll be able to listen to it again, and we will share the slides out. Classes are ability based. Can you tell us more about how this looks?
So what we'll do, we want what works best for the kiddies. So we haven't decided whether things will be like fully ability based, as in what we call the old streaming, or whether it will be about having mixed classes, because what we need to do is look at our kids, find out who they are, and then we look at, well, what works best subject by subject for young people, because there's definitely research pro and against. But also around ability based, it could be that we have a student who potentially, say, is coming into year 10, but is academically able to start approaching the NCEA level 2 curriculum. So we could be saying, oh, well, perhaps for that year 10 student, they've got this passion in English. Perhaps they could try some standards for the level 2 English curriculum, but it may be for the other subjects they're looking at the year 10 curriculum. So I don't want to sort of say, yes, we're definitely doing this, or no, we're definitely not doing that, because it's about, first of all, let's build the community, let's see who we have and design it around needs, and then look at individual case by case if needed to make sure we're meeting the needs of young people. Because the last thing we want is kids sitting in classes where they're actually bored out of their brains because they know the material, when we could be stretching them by putting them into a different class, for example.
We've got a couple of questions on sports here, and whether they're eligible for competitions and not allowing home educated students to compete. Yes, so with our other online schools, we've been able to enter them as a school. So we expect that to be the same. We are registered, we have an error review, we have a school number, and that allows that process to go through. Will science be compulsory?
That's something, I'm trying very hard not to sound like a politician, avoiding the answers here. But what I need to do now that we've got our senior leadership team on board, we need to talk about what that will look like. We've already talked about whether maths will be compulsory higher up the school, and we've said no, because there are just some young people, why would you force them to do something that's not necessary? If they've got their if they've got their numeracy credits, which is what they would need to go to university, why would we put them through that? And so we've now got our head of science on board, so that would be a conversation that I'd be having with our head of science. I would personally be encouraging young people to look at maths, English and science at year 11, because that gives them opportunities. I think it would be short-sighted unless they had a really specific goal that they knew they were working towards. It could perhaps be limiting for them to narrow down what they're studying at year 11 stage, and there will be general science on offer. So again, if there's particular reasons for particular students, talk to us and we'll look at how we can make that work.
With NCEA being replaced, will this still be on offer in a few years' time? Yes, we are not going anywhere. We are here to stay. So we will just continue to adapt as the curriculum changes. If anything, as the new NCEA stands right now, it actually follows a more kind of similar pathway to what our earlier years does. So that will sort of, if only, support that transition even further. But we'll continue to adapt. And again, looking at what our students' needs and interests are and subject choices and how we design with them.
And Sarah, it is a really good question, because we are up in the air as a country right now around our national qualification. And I think what we really want you to know is that as a school, we are passionate about the national qualification. We want Kiwi kids to get their Kiwi education in terms of their qualification. And so however and whatever that qualification is, when it's refined and when it's reviewed and then redesigned, that's what Aotearoa Infant Academy will offer.
We have a great question from Anne. Given the specific tech questions, I know you're a current family, so we are using an entirely different technology stack and platform, and our goal is that everything is self-contained in the one platform. So students wouldn't require an iPad. There may be a stylus, which is about $50, that they may need to add on, but we're trying to have everything to be able to be run within a singular laptop, because we know already a single laptop may be a barrier for some students joining the school. And so we're really trying to limit the amount that our systems need to be run on and the amount of different programs that we use. So the ideal scenario is a student would have a laptop and a second screen, but we know that, again, that may be a barrier for some students, and we'll work with them on how they can get access. Will 2027 enrollments follow the same process? There would be, I guess, priority, because if you miss out in 2026, you'll be offered the next available place. So if you don't get in 2026, we'll go, great, we've got a space for you 2026 term 3, or it might be term 1 the following year. And so that will always carry over. There's a question there in terms of differences in schools.
Yeah, it is quite different. There'll be, I think first difference is the scale. So we're anticipating that Aotearoa Infant Academy will be a larger school, which means there'll be more teachers on offer across subjects. There are the resources such as the dean, the SENCO, the school counsellor. The one big difference is that it's free. There aren't any fees, where with Mount Hobson there are fees. Also, there isn't a project-based curriculum in the younger years. It's following Pearson's edXL curriculum. That's not to say it won't be interesting, or your teachers won't have amazing activities. We also have inbuilt student management, learning management system. So AIA will not be working through Teams. We've got an amazing LMS that's being built, and all of the learning will go through the LMS. The LMS will also be able to look at student activity and engagement, and those analytics will be able to support teachers to continue to further refine and design lessons that are more focused on what the young people need.
And LMS is learning management system for anyone not in education technology. Natalie, first, I'm sorry that you have to ask this question and you have been through this. Yes, we would look at how families can nominate other schools. And so we would absolutely take that into account. Naomi, if you can send an email through to admin@aotearoa.infiniteacademy.school, and our lovely operations manager, Rachel, who is on the call and waving if you can see her, will be in touch and make sure you're all set. How much parental involvement might be required day to day?
It really depends on your young person, to be fair. I have seen year 4 students come in with absolutely zero tech knowledge, and within 2 or 3 weeks they're teaching other young people what to do. The kids are amazing. If you have a young person who is addicted to gaming, you might need to be supportive around like that management at home. But we are also going to be working with Zoom class and extensions where the teacher will be able to see what's on the student's screen, where the teacher will be able to manage what's happening on the screen, which will help with that management side of it. So I would say in terms of the support, it really depends on what and how you want to support as a family, and how confident and comfortable your young person is with technology in the first instance. If they're like my daughter who I spoke about, and they're highly anxious and they get really nervous when they're under pressure, you might just need to be there gently off screen, just talking them through. Don't worry, put it on mute. Your teacher asked for this link. Because for some young people, we know that, well, for all of them, they're making a change, but you're making a deliberate choice to come online. And for some, they might have experienced overwhelm, anxiety, social anxiety, nervousness about their previous school. We understand that. We understand that you're making a choice to do something very different. And so in those early days, we'll be very much guiding them through it. But it could be a year 13 student, and you might just need to sit off at the side so that if they're getting into a panic or they're getting into a bit of a worked up state, you can help step them through it and help them to regulate a little bit. Once they understand this place is safe and the teachers are here to help, and they can message teachers privately, and teachers would love to have them let them know if they're stuck, I think they tend to then start to regulate, green brain kicks in, and it's all go.
Let's see. Daughter's super passionate and does Muay Thai twice per week. Amazing. So we would work through that with the dean and look at how we can accommodate that. There is also pieces I've seen students like join class in the car. So I think as you start sort of thinking about how it fits in, it might be that you actually leave slightly earlier, you do some of the call, and then you finish, you do that, and then you join back. Like there is a way, just by nature of it being online.
I've seen students join class in a tent.
Yep.
In the horse stables. I don't think where else. Like on the racetrack, there's like it's so flexible. It's really
if you can get an internet connection, it's kind of everywhere you see them. It's pretty amazing. Yes, we'll be looking at student subject selection for year 12 students, and we'll be working through that after the November 12th enrollment date. Will the 200 intake? Yes, it'll grow by term throughout 2026. And that is just limited by our capacity to have enough teachers to be able to teach the classes. So we don't want to suddenly say, welcome in 400, and then our class sizes, just go the other direction. We want to make sure we're onboarding students as we can make sure we can onboard them in a cohort with a really solid induction and lots of support structures in place. And so that's why we're spacing that out.
So under Crimson Academies, we have 4 schools. One is an on-site school in Auckland on the North Shore, and it's Crimson Age. We've also got Crimson Global Academy, which is as it states, a global school and over 70 countries, and it offers an A-level and a US diploma route, and that's a private school, so there are fees for that.
Yep.
We've got Mount Hobson Academy, which is a New Zealand-based school that offers New Zealand curriculum. That's a private school, and there are fees for Mount Hobson Academy. And then we've got Aotearoa Infinite Academy, which is the first online charter school in New Zealand, and it is fully funded by the government.
What would the year 9 subjects be?
General subjects, so you would have your maths, English, science, perhaps some business, some art, potentially some music. But if you have a look in the prospectus, there will be subjects listed there. Most of our teachers, interestingly enough, I mean, funny enough, I studied it myself as a child, as a young person, and then I taught it. But most of our teachers have experience in the IGCSE curriculum. We're very, very lucky. And for those who haven't, there will be support for them. But to be fair, it's so comprehensive. The syllabus for each of the subjects is really, really comprehensive. So, and knowledge is knowledge, like a particular formula in chemistry is a formula no matter which curriculum you're choosing. And so most teachers are able to adapt quite quickly, but we've got enough experienced teachers that we can support those who haven't.
Would a change in government affect the charter school? So no, it would not. We have a 10-year contract with a government body, which sits underneath the government, which makes that slightly different in terms of being able to change that by way of legislation. So we will be here for 10 years at least, and it is performance-based and making sure that we meet and exceed the norm, which we're absolutely going to do. So... do you want to talk to number of subjects and subjects for year levels?
Yes. So by the time they get to choosing their options, year 12 and 13, they will be studying approximately 4 or 5 subjects. That's in order to sort of start to specialize, but give them still a bit of breadth. And also be able to, like, we design a course at that stage, and each course offers a particular number of credits because they need a particular number of credits to add up to be able to gain their certificate at the end of the year 12 and year 13.
Great. How do you plan to monitor students' online behaviour? This might be one of the gaming parents. So we have platforms in place when a student joins into a class in which the teacher can actually monitor if they move outside of that classroom. And so immediately the teacher can go, come back into the classroom. And also when they're doing collaborative activities, all of the students have their share screen on. So the teachers really have that visibility. Another piece I would say is, what could be, if you kind of look at the root cause of what might be causing that, could be discomfort in the content. Maybe I don't feel confident in the content. And as Sarah mentioned earlier, you can message the teacher. Another one might be they feeling kind of disengaged or not challenged. And again, making sure we're in those ability-based classes. So online schooling and the way we've designed it tries to address the root cause of what might cause that. And then if that should happen, then we have mechanisms in place.
And simple things like we insist on cameras on, it's so lovely to be able to see, like, we talk about connections. We need to be able to see facial expressions. We need to be able to see engagement that way. So we encourage a cameras on culture, and we also encourage relationship building. So it's the same whether you're in a class with kids or whether you're online with kids. If you can connect as the teacher with those young people, find similarities in interests, be sort of interested in the young person's life, then they're more likely to engage with you. They often say, particularly teenage boys, learn teachers, not subjects. So we're really happy and proud of the teachers we've managed to employ, because we know that they have a history of being able to engage and get the results at the end of the day.
We've answered the one about charter schools. Is this paving the way for AI teaching to overtake? And it drops to the bottom when a new question comes in. Is AI teaching to overtake traditional teaching? Absolutely not. But I guess there are a few kind of pieces in terms of, as we're thinking about AI, we are an online school. And so a key part of this is, how do we help our students build digital literacy, and how do we help them engage with AI in an ethical way? So there is AI embedded within our school, and it's there to support teachers, and it's there to support students in terms of being able to sort of be a 24/7 support to them. Whatever they're discussing with their AI sort of supports the teacher gets access to as well. So the teachers can then help personalize their learning based off that. I don't think where we're going to see is suddenly sort of a full change there. I mean, already the pilots we've been running with our teachers is that AI can be an incredible assistant too, and it actually enables the teacher to spend more time, more contact time, and to be able to really support in personalizing. And so I don't think that's going to change. And already, if you think about just AI overall, it's not necessarily going to push the child. It's going to take the path of least resistance, and that's not necessarily going to support them in learning. And so there's always that role for a human teacher to know when to push, when to challenge, when to make sure they're really covering the content. So it is a part of our school, and we will help our students embrace it and make sure they understand the ethics and misinformation and digital literacy, but it is not overtaking. Yes, we're looking at opportunities for sort of inter-school competitions. We don't have any confirmed yet. Yep, so we already within Mount Hobson have a lot of experience in terms of working directly with host schools and have a number of existing relationships already set up of schools that take students. So
it's very rare. Like in the last 4 years, we haven't had a host. We've maybe had 1 or 2 host schools refuse. Most don't, because there's an understanding that that's part of the role they play in their community. If a school like your local school was to refuse, we work with you to help. And it might be, we had one student who had to travel maybe 30 minutes rather than the 15 minutes, which was his local school. So we will help you, but it's very, very rare that a school would refuse.
So we have 2 boys who've been mainstream year 10, but being out of mainstream, benefit from year 9. Absolutely, we can support with that. So that would just be a matter of, oh wait, hold on. Let me just look into level 1. Okay, so we wouldn't be able to support a dual enrollment where they're with Te Kura and us, but they could be entirely with us and doing a mixture. In this case, it would be IGCSE and level 2. What would you want to take that? I know you love this question.
Chat quietly. Next. Honestly, so sorry. So Jolene's question, great question. What the question is, what opportunities are there for kids to find and engage with their tribe? I had this student who came to us. I think it was in year 11. He was in another school, and he went home after. Well, didn't go home because he was at home, but afterwards he went and spoke to his parents, and he said, I found my tribe. Like, they were his words. It was so beautiful to hear that. And he's such an advocate for the school now. In class, like, we are talking at you this evening because we've got so much to say. This is not how our classes work. Like, we encourage interaction, we encourage banter. The kids banter with each other, they go in small groups. But what they also do is they can message and communicate with each other online. They go into little chat groups together. They sort of message each other together, and they find who they are. It's actually quite lovely. Like, I've been teaching the last 4 years in the online space as well as leading, and when I'm teaching a class, I can see sort of little conversations happening in the chat. And I think we need to give our young kids more credit in terms of the way they can form relationships and connect and actually be fulfilled online. It's not the be all and end all. They still do need face-to-face relationships, but that's where we can help to connect you with people, like the kids who are friends. We had a wee group of girls who all happened to be on the North Shore, and we supported them to connect through their families. And then what they started to do was every Friday afternoon, there was 4 of them, they would go to a different person's house and do their lessons sort of together but separate, if you know what I mean. So I think the families who have made it the most successful are those who make a deliberate choice to switch up their thinking about education and don't try and just make this a replacement from your on-site school. The families who actually say, hey, who are we now as a family? What is our life? We're pioneers going out there doing something different. Like I said to the first round of kids we had at Mount Hobson, like, you guys are going to go down the history books. Your grandchildren are going to hear about you in terms of this online schooling. I mean, we've had correspondence and distance school for 40 years or so. So in some aspects, it's not brand new, but in terms of the way we're going to use the technology, it's certainly much more efficient, and they can definitely find their tribe. We had a student who lived way south of Queenstown and one who was up in Northland. They worked out how much it would cost to fly one to the other. They saved up the total amount, split the cost, and they had the best trip ever. The girl from up north flew down to Queenstown, and they made a video to come back and show their class what it was like. We often then have families who connect, and the kids have sleepovers, and they turn up one morning, they come onto screen and they're both on, you know, the same camera, and it's quite lovely. You know, they do form genuine relationships. In the first year, I asked a year 10 boy after camp that we'd had, you know, do you prefer online or on site? And he said, I actually prefer online school because we're nicer to each other. So, oh, that's interesting. Tell me about that. And he said, in an on-site school, we're there in each other's faces all day, every day. So we actually are not that nice to each other. We can be a bit mean. He said, but in the online space, the communication is much more, there's much more etiquette. Like, as you can see, the way we're sort of taking turns and listening and so on. And he said, and because of that, we're actually nicer when we meet up as well. So it's quite interesting.
I'm loving the love in the chat. I think we have 2 more questions. What happens in break times? I think Syra's just covered that. There's absolutely opportunities to connect informally, and there are clubs and extracurriculars for students to get involved in and really form those connections based off shared interests. We get pretty creative in terms of like music and arts and things like that. And so that's not a barrier. Instead, you know, I think online opens up new opportunities to think about how we do those subjects.
Yes, we've got a very passionate dean who is currently designing our very own student leadership model. So definitely opportunities for leadership in the online space. Leanne, thank you very much for your compliment.
And Clint and... Oh, amazing, Kate. If you would like to join our faculty, then I'm just going to put a link. I don't have the link off the top of my head, but if you go to our website, down the bottom says join our team, and all of our vacancies are there, and we're going to continue to hiring over the next year. So amazing. May see Kate's face on those slides soon. Fantastic. Do we have any other last questions? Thank you for everyone that's joined, and I know we are starting to get past bedtimes. I saw some sleepy kids in the mix, so just huge thank you to everyone for joining us. We will be on the road for the next couple of weeks. Oh, that is incredible to hear, Naomi. Please do reach out if you've got any questions. I understand there was a bit of a mix-up with the emails, so a couple of people were desperately trying to get a link for tonight. I hope that's all been sorted, but please message us at admin@Aotearoa Infinite Academy, and we can follow up, and then join us in person at a roadshow. If you've got any more questions, let us know. We are fizzing as well, Talia. This is the future of education.
It is. It truly is.
Yeah, it is fantastic, and I cannot wait to have all of our students joining. Right.
Look forward to seeing you soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
Young
Thanks
people,
so much.
if you're there, bring your parents along. And thank you so much for being with us this evening, Emma. Can't wait to work with you.
Amazing. Thank you all. Have a great rest of
Bye,
your
everybody.
evening. Bye.
See you later. Bye.